Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Anime Night in the Dojo. Today's featured show, Skeleton Knight, Season 2.
Yep, Skeleton Knight, Season 2, Episode 1. Welcome back to the dojo. I'm Ryu. That's Age. We're back for more Anime Night in the Dojo, and, well, it's been almost 4 freaking years since we've seen Arc and the Gang. This was like one of the first shows that we actually did after we started doing things that weren't Ruby and ReZero. So that's kind of crazy.
This was our second just random fuck it show.
Yeah.
The first one being Faraway Paladin.
Yeah, we all know how that turned out. If you don't know, it was bad. This was good though. This was ended up being one of my favorite shows of the last couple years. It has that interesting dynamic of, Arc gets isekai'd as his video game character. The world is really messed up in like the classic medieval slavery, against things like elves and demi-humans and stuff like that. There's a really dark side to this story if you look at it. But Arc just he's one of the few isekai protagonists that I have seen who is super excited about everything. And he, even when things got really serious, he never lost that like love of, oh man, I'm still playing my video game character. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's Overlord-esque in that he's isekai'd into his video game character, but not into his video game world.
Yeah.
But
so it's definitely
Overlord, he doesn't get the whole guild. It's just he himself.
Yeah,
and he's not nearly as overpowered as Ainz.
Yeah, and it's definitely an interesting situation. The last time we saw them, Ariane got really, really pissed off at that Beast Tamer guy and ended him. I think that's when I first started, one of the first times I started doing stills for each episode. So that was also another kind of milestone era in the channel. But if you're new, check out our intro video. It's down there in the description. The first 6 minutes give a pretty good TLDR, and then the rest of it is just us expanding upon it and talking about it more for, about 45 minutes. But we do the traditional timer reactions. Those are over on Patreon, completely free. The link to that is always down in the description. Just have to split it because of YouTube shenanigans. Copyright has gotten ridiculous is the TLDR for that. And then the review section is back over on YouTube. And these intros are on both videos, so if you watch both, you can, happily skip this part of whichever you're watching. But I'm excited to be back to Skeleton Knight. Our summer season was going to be super jam-packed, but now it's all over the place because ReZero got split. Tanya didn't come out at the same time as Skeleton Knight. And Bleach isn't starting till the end of the month. So who knows when that dub will show up. And Tanya's on episode 2. We're excited about that, but still no dub. So we're going to be all over the place. I don't care. We'll pick up the shows as they come out. We still have a couple other things like the Avatar live action that we did last week to talk about that. We have a couple things like we want to talk about Ruby Volume 10 got announced, so we're going to be talking about that this week to kind of fill a slot. And yeah, so Skeleton Knight will continue. It's already on episode 2, so I believe the 3rd episode should be coming out here in the next day or so. So our buffer zone that I like to have for these should be completely fine for this, so we'll be able to keep going. And of course, Slime is going to keep going until it stops. I don't know if they're going to immediately roll into the 3rd core once the 2nd core stops or ends here in another 12 weeks. But yeah, the schedule for us is all over the place, but I don't care anymore. We're just going to do stuff as it comes out and whatever. So Skeleton Knight will hold it down on Wednesday. Whenever Tanya starts, that'll be Thursday, and whenever Bleach starts, that'll be on Friday, and Slime will continue Monday. So that's the plan. So anyway, I'm excited to be back to Skeleton Knight. It was a very fun show. It had a lot of interesting stuff. I hope they continue the like Ponta in random location stuff after, they kind of had like that classic Juju Stroll stuff going on. They have plenty of locations they could put Ponta. Maybe they'll use something else for it. I don't know. Stuff like that is always fun. And we're going to continue the journey to uncurse Arc. And I did read up to the where they're at in the story in the source material just to see if they had changed stuff over the last year or so. There were a couple things that were different in season 1, like timing, like when he meets Ponta, how he meets Ponta. A couple other things were slightly different, but everything else was, on point. The source material is definitely a little darker. They left in a couple other like more dark things. Like for those of you who don't remember how this series started, it was an attempted rape scene. So yeah, there was some messed up stuff in this show. But yeah, it's definitely balanced out by Arc being Arc, and hopefully that continues. But currently, the thing that they said they were going to do was head toward the dragon domain to talk to the dragon about Arc's curse, I believe is the thing.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. They have the politics going on with like the Holy Empire that's like super anti-elf and demi-human. I'm sure they'll be a part of this season potentially, because I think that's where they were headed, because they have to go that way. Because that's where the Beast Tamer guy came from. He was from that area. So we'll just have to see what happens. And hopefully it continues to be what it was last time. And Pelike came back to do the OP. So that's cool. He did a really good job with the OP last season, and they got him back for season 2, which is very cool. Allowing people to reprise roles is a cool thing to do if they want it. Looking at you, Atlas. Don't know what the deal was with the Persona 4 recast for that, but that was something that was just like, most of them wanted to reprise their roles, and Atlas just told them no. I'm all for giving new people a chance or whatever they're doing, but if the VAs from any language are still alive or capable of doing their role and they want it, it's insane to recast them.
I mean, they did the same thing for freaking P3 Reload.
Yeah, so I don't know what the deal was with that, but it's cool to see people reprising, assuming that Pelike wanted to do that again. But it's cool to see stuff like that, especially in this day and age of madness like that.
I mean, with how into it he was for the first season, I imagine he wanted to come back for the second.
Yeah. So either way, we're going to push some buttons and get going here. So people on Patreon will see you on the other side of the edit for the timer reaction. And people on YouTube will see you on the other side for the discussion and review. And all the links to the various stuff that we do are down there in the description. Check it out. And whatnot. Check out the intro video. Again, it explains how, why, what we do stuff, Anyway, so here goes something. Well, alrighty then, there you guys have it. They are continuing the Ponta in places. Ponta is out and about. It has its own hashtag, so they probably find that on Twitter. And I'm never not gonna not call it Twitter just to spite Elon, because I highly doubt anybody actually calls it. I don't even know what it's actually called now. I've repressed it. I still call it Twitter. I think it's called X. But
X, or as most people refer to it these days, X Twitter.
Yeah, X Twitter. It's kind of like me being a Lakers fan. I'm never going to call the Staples Center Crypto.com Arena. I'm never going to call it that. Ever. I'm sorry. That's ridiculous. I understand naming rights and all that crap, but that stadium's always going to be Staples Center. Like before, like when they played in the Great Western Forum, I would never call it something else just because of a freaking title. I understand that Staples was technically a sponsored title, but Staples Center sounds like an actual reasonable name for a stadium. Crypto.com Arena has no personality. You know what I mean? It doesn't sound like a cool place to go. You know what I mean? It's not like Madison Square Garden or, any other place, the Boston Garden, just, whatever. It's not there. Dodger Stadium, Wrigley Field, Yankee Stadium. It has those kind of like titled names. It's just like they need to have their historical name attached to it. It's one thing if a company wants to put their name on it and they're like the sponsored whatever. Like Dodger Stadium has a sponsor for the first time. They're not calling it whatever that sponsor is. They still call it Dodger Stadium. It's just that they have the sponsor of the entire thing. It's like a Japanese clothing company. I forget what it's called, but is anybody surprised by that? I mean, anybody who follows the Dodgers in baseball, considering how many Japanese superstars they have and the Japanese connection they've always had, they've had like VTuber nights like with Gura and like a lot of the HoloLive girls at this point. They've had like multiple One Piece nights and whatnot. It's been
Gura Stadium for years now.
Yeah, it's been Gura Stadium for years now. But yeah, either way, it's just one of those things which, it is what it is. But it's cool that they're continuing the Ponta stuff. But yeah, we started with this crap again, but once again, like we talked about at the beginning here, is this world is really, really dark and messed up, and a lot of horrible stuff happens in it. But it's kind of balanced out by the fact that Ark is just Ark, and he's still super excited about being there, super excited about being isekai and stuff like that, playing his character. And once again, there probably are more characters out there like him. We just haven't personally seen them, but I appreciate the aesthetic and how they write his character to be, he hasn't become jaded by the world. You know what I mean? He hasn't let the world get to him. He's still using terms like fantastical and super excited about, fighting the goblins in this. And I know we mentioned this before that we haven't gotten a clip in a while, but him just cutting the Goblin Lord in half and saying like too slow, I have to get that one. That is too freaking hilarious. That was a great one. Like I said, the clip when you see it. That was one of them. I knew it immediately. So that was something. We finally got a new clip after a couple years at this point. But man, that one, like I said a couple weeks ago, you know the clip when you see it and you need it, and that one right there was just, yeah. You can put it in with all the other Skeleton Knight clips that we got, like when Ariane is going ham on the Lord's balls, literally, like when she was just beating the crap out of him, and Ark's just in the background, and he's just like losing, like, oh god, he's gonna feel that the rest of his life. So, either way, I appreciate the fact that they kept the character the same way. All the VAs are the same, it seems. It's still Skeleton Knight, you know what I mean? They had these situations here with, like, not everybody's racist. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's nice to see stuff like that. These people were pointing out, they don't see a lot of elves and beast people in their area, but they don't seem different than them, so who cares? They're just people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they didn't really see other races enough to have an opinion on other races.
Yeah. And once again, kind of like my de facto thing is, I don't care who, where, what you are. As long as you're not an asshole, I don't care. You know what I mean? That's really the only thing that matters to me. It's like, are you a decent human being? Cool. The rest of it is irrelevant to me. You know what I mean? So, it is nice to see stuff like that. Classic hot spring scene, Ark went into the women's bath, and, well, hilarity ensued. He got blasted again. He'll have to get blasted again in season 3, assuming we get that far. I don't know where the source material is at. That's like another thing we might look into as the season goes on, just to kind of see, like, I think when season 1 wrapped up, I think the author hadn't written enough to warrant a season 2. That's why it's been 4 years at this point. So we'll have to check out the source material. Maybe like halfway through the season, we'll like kind of like look at it and see, like, okay, how many chapters like are they at now, and like what chapter is, like, say episode 6 at, and see like where that stands, that kind of thing, like we've been doing with some of the other shows we've been watching, like MF Ghost. We went and checked that out. That's going to be kind of an interesting thing, but we kind of want to have a little bit of source material knowledge of like where they're at, not necessarily to spoil it, but to just see like, okay, they're here, and say like they're on like chapter 67, and the actual source material is at like chapter 150. So yeah, maybe they already have enough for a season 3, whatever. So we'll check that out later in the season to see like just that kind of thing, to see when season 3 might be coming, if there's a season 3, if this is it, that kind of thing. So
they're probably, I would say probably, but there potentially is enough for season 3 already, because like even if there wasn't enough for season 2 initially, whenever anime studios decide that this is going to be more than a one-off season, and we're going to start doing multiple seasons, they usually try to give at least some breathe-through before they start doing more seasons. Right. So like they probably have most of the content for season 3, if not all of it, already laid out. So that way they can start working on it immediately while they're waiting for season 4 content.
Right. And I will say, since this is simul-dubbed, that means this show is a big deal. Okay? You know what I mean? If it's being dubbed on the same week and released just simultaneously as the sub, that means you've made it. You know what I mean? That generally means that you are like at the top of the pile of importance. Things like MHA and Slime and other things. Like even Slime isn't simul-dubbed. That was a couple weeks behind for various reasons. But if the show is simuldubbed, that means it's pretty damn top tier, and like they see it as like a big deal. You know what I mean?
It also does depend on like the cast and whatnot, and availabilities. Like shows that have smaller cast are more likely to get simuldubbed.
Yeah, because
it's easier to get a hold of them. Plus, also, as I was looking up, Ark is basically a nobody when it comes to VAs. He's just he's done a handful of extra work, but this is his first major role as a voice actor.
Yeah, so like if you're not doing a bunch of stuff like the Slime cast, they're all over the place. Like they're in ZZZ, they're doing all kinds of other stuff, you know, like Rimurus and a bunch of stuff. The VA for Malim, Ramirez, several others, Veldora, that kind of stuff. They have a lot on their plate. But yeah, if it's a more lesser known VA cast, like I don't recognize, like I don't remember recognizing any of the VAs for any of the characters in this. They're totally fine. There's nothing wrong with them. But I don't remember hearing like Ariane or Chiome or any of the other like major. You know what I mean? We'd have to look at that. Some of the more like maybe political characters, maybe there was a couple. The one that we did recognize was the male elf from season 1, like the other member of Ariane's, like whatever, the guy that helped with the breakout of the other elves. That was the same VA who does like Todoroki and MHA. What's his name in Slime? The new king of Fall Menace, Yom, plays him, and several other things. So you know, but he had a more minor role in this show. So
Ariane does play a handful of characters throughout stuff that we know, and just in general, like she's Haumea in Fire Force, Methode in Frieren. She's Mina in MHA.
Got it. Well, that's not something. Once again, I haven't gotten to the point where I recognize every VA. You know what I mean? I've gotten like obviously Gohan down. That's like my go-to.
We haven't seen her at all in the more recent seasons, but she's Sokka, Gabiru's sister, in Slime.
Oh yeah, okay, fair enough. So yeah, she's done a bunch of stuff, but yeah, there are only a couple VAs I know at the drop of a hat. You know, the All Might VA, Vegeta's VA potentially. Who else? Now I got like Ramirez and Malim's VAs down because of stuff like ZZZ. But it's only a handful that I can like recognize at the drop of a hat. You know? So Ariane's VA being Mina and everything else that Age just mentioned. Yeah, I could probably see that if I think about those voices and those characters. But that was not something that immediately clicked with me when I heard Ariane 4 years ago. And 4 years ago, I wasn't, you know, super paying attention to VAs as much as I am now. So it's been a minute. A lot's changed.
Chiome seems like she's relatively minor. Like the only thing that we know her from is she's Ino in Kaguya-sama.
Well,
she apparently also plays a character in Reborn as a Vending Machine.
Which,
if we ever get around to watching that one.
Yeah, we might. It keeps getting more seasons, so we might as well check it out. Like, we were talking about the Suicide... I'm sorry to go aside here for a second. We were talking about the Suicide Squad isekai earlier, and how it is such a damn shame that we haven't talked about this yet, but we'll talk about it here for a second. And I apologize, because it's just train of thought and just kind of full podcast mode. The Suicide Squad anime was just kind of okay, right? Up until the last episode, where they really found what they needed from the start, and it sucks that it's not getting a season 2, probably.
Yeah,
because episode 10, we were just like, yeah, this is kind of okay. I can understand why people are mad at it. You know, I understood completely the criticisms. Like, yeah, this is very subpar, just kind of there, whatever. And then it's just like, they got to the last episode, and it's just like, why were you doing this the whole time? And then they leave it on the massive cliffhanger of the Joker thing. It's like, are you kidding me? If you had done this the whole time, you guys would have been fine. So it's just one of those things where it's just, we talked about with Skeleton Knight, it's just like, continue doing what you're good at. Don't try to become greatest of all time. You found your niche, you found what you're good at. Just keep doing that. We've talked about that with like Chokyo or Avengers when we were doing that show. Unfortunately, because that's in Disney jail, we're probably never going to do that show again. But it's just one of those things where, like with a show like that, if that author had just written just a normal gang drama, it would have been fantastic. But he decided to, do all the time travel and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? That made it all convoluted, terrible. But, that show is massively balanced out by that. It's just like, it has peaks, it has massive valleys because of the time travel stuff. But with Skeleton Knight, they found what they're good at. The author found what they're good at. They're good at the team that's adapting this is very good at adapting it. And it's, it's not trying to be like the greatest show of all time, but it's for what it's doing. And we've talked about this before. It's like, we know what this show is trying to do, and it's doing it incredibly well, so that means it's a very good show. Because it's doing what it should be doing for what it's trying to do. And you can tell what something is trying to do if you paid attention to a bunch of stuff like we have, and we look at it, it's like, this is what this is trying to do, and it's nailing it. And that's exactly what you want to see. You don't have to try to be the best show or, entertainment of all time going into a thing. If you just want to be this...
You don't have to do everything... You don't have to do everything. You don't have to be the best at anything. You just got to figure out what you like and what you're good at and just have fun with it.
Yep. So that's something I appreciate about this show in general. And once again, like I said, this episode was just more Skeleton Knight, That's all it needs to be. We had the case of mistaken identity and all the super gross, lecherous guys and... and then we have, the political intrigue still going on. We'll have to see what comes of that. And, the classic mistaken identity stuff, that's always fun. That's always an interesting storyline. We had the stuff with the goblins, which is another one of those things where we'll have to see where we saw like that guy that had it was kind of like the Beast Tamer, like ring things from season 1, but this seems to be like a kind of a different magical item that controls multiple things. So we'll just have to see what that is. What the deal is with that.
Yeah, we know they had the Beast Tamer like working on something for his like taming shenanigans.
Yeah.
But then Ark and them interrupted. So presumably this is some form of whatever they had him working on.
Yeah. So.
But the fact that it's only controlling minor monsters probably has something to do with the fact that the research got interrupted.
Yeah. So either way, we still got these things in season 1. This was a part of the stuff that Ark did, cut-ins to like different abilities, different monsters, stuff like that. It's cool that they're still doing stuff like that. So once again, everything that the show is doing well, it looks like it's still doing, and that's all it has to do to succeed and be a fun watch. And I hate to break it to everybody, but that's what this is. This is supposed to be entertainment. It's supposed to be fun. Well, we're not trying to win an Oscar over here and, make people be thinking about, whatever. This is supposed to be fun, and that's what this is. This obviously does have serious moments and serious implications with, like, the political stuff and obviously how messed up the people of the world are, that kind of stuff. But still, it's doing a very good job of balancing the two things out. You know what I mean?
We're not pulling a Paramount and sticking it only in 2 theaters for a week to win an award.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So... the Paramount discussion is a whole other thing. In short, imagine them having a huge franchise like The Last Airbender, and because they have something against animated series that they leaked it to sabotage it. After buying South Park for $1 billion. You realize how ridiculous that is? The higher-ups of Paramount apparently have something against animated series, but they're not above buying South Park for $1 billion. Or whatever it was. It was an insane amount. I know it was in the billions. I have to check that again. But it's crazy to me, I think people really need to get over the fact that there are tons of different kinds of people in the world, and they have all kinds of different interests, from rock climbing to anime. And everything in between. What people choose to do with their time is their own, and it's none of anybody else's business what it is, unless it's something, like supremely terrible. You know what I mean? Something morally wrong, obviously. I think we all know what I'm talking about. There are certain things that definitely shouldn't be done by people for entertainment purposes. You know what I mean? There's a lot of
the kind
terrible
of things that happen on islands.
yeah, the kind of things that happen on islands. But you know what I mean. So it just fascinates me how many people out there are super like, I was mentioning the Dodger Stadium stuff earlier in the reaction. It's like some LA sports writer, when they had the One Piece night, I think I mentioned this before too, was like, well, a bunch of anime weirdos have descended upon Dodger Stadium. It's like, you're the weirdo, man, for caring that people like anime and One Piece. Why does it bother you? It has nothing to do with you. You know what I mean?
Not to mention they've done this dozens of times at this point.
Yeah, the Rams have had a One Piece night. I'm sure, like, because I live in Southern California, those are the events I see, California events. There's probably One Piece nights in Dallas and Philadelphia and New York and other places. You know what I mean? It can't just be California doing this stuff. You know what I mean? There has to be more stuff. I know it's more California-centric because we're very close with Japan, geographically and culturally, but still.
California does more Japanese-themed events for things, just because, you get some of the most Japanese tourists of any place.
California is where Japan goes on vacation. That's one of the big things. Like when I used to play
California and Hawaii.
Yeah, when I used to play golf with my dad a lot when I was younger, you guys wouldn't believe how many Japanese businessmen we'd see on those courses. You know what I mean? And it was just like, it's like, oh yeah, we're here from Tokyo for the weekend. It's like, well, that's cool, man. You guys can play through. You're going faster than us. We don't want to waste your time. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it was whenever, I used to play golf when I was younger. I'm sure it still happens. I haven't played golf in a couple years, but the amount of Japanese businessmen, and I didn't really put that together when I was younger. Like, yeah, there's a lot of Japanese people. I was like, yeah, there are probably Japanese businessmen here to do stuff. And I was just like, yeah, that's interesting. But, fucking 12-year-old me wasn't really thinking about why that was a thing. You know what I mean? So, either way, it's great to be back to Skeleton Knight. Another solid episode. It'll be interesting to see what they do with this season. The OPs, the OP and the ED implied a bunch of stuff, so we'll probably see those things. The dragon stuff. Chiyome's clan. It looks like we're going to get more of Arion's sister. That should be a thing. Apparently she was getting married soon as well, so that was the kind of like a little aside in the first season. So we'll have to touch more on that. There was that whole thing where there'll probably be like the whole shenanigan of she does tell Arion that if Arion ever wants to get married, whoever she's interested in has to beat her in a fight because she's a much better warrior than Arion. So she's probably going to get in Ark's face, and it's going to be hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, he already had it out with Arion's mother.
Yeah.
Which I commented about the whole thing of him being less OP than I, and it's like, yeah, he's OP in the sense that he has ridiculous strength, like physical strength, and he has abilities that break the rules.
Like this.
But his actual skill is very low.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. Like, he's still beaten by a lot of the actual veteran warriors here because, as Arion's mom puts it, he just kind of swings his sword around and it relies entirely on his overwhelming strength.
Right. Which seems to be more than good enough for what they're doing right now.
Yeah, against a lot of opponents, that's fine, but it doesn't work if you can't hit the person.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see if they touch more on that kind of situation, or he might train with Arion's sister or something like that. But this show has plenty going on. I enjoy it. I'm looking forward to this season. And like I said, we'll probably check out where the source material is at as we come to closer to the end of the season. But that's not for 3 months, so we'll worry about that in 2 months. So another solid start to another solid season. And yeah, looking forward to it. Got anything else, Age?
I figure we're probably gonna get Chiyome's village being probably one of the bigger centerpieces of this season, because once again, that's the 3 main story arcs we have going on right now is trying to cure Ark's curse, trying to reach Chiyome's village, and then dealing with the Limbolt political nonsense with like all the different ruler candidates fighting over their position, and most of them being asshats behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Like, namely the one prince that they were talking about this episode in season 1 was pretty heavily implied to be like one of the main people responsible for all this slavery going on.
Right.
It's like it's him and the big empire next door are the main two people pushing the slavery, and he's like pushing the slavery to basically try to get in with them.
Yeah. And not to mention he killed his other brother. Right up. So, or put him in a position to be killed. Whatever that was. So we'll just have to see. But there's plenty of interesting stuff going on. Looking forward to this. So, yeah. Looking forward to season 2 of Skeleton Knight. So, ladies and gentlemen, people of YouTube, beyond whoever you're watching, as always, we appreciate you stopping by and hanging with us here in the dojo for more Anime Night in the Dojo. And this was Skeleton Knight, Season 2, Episode 1. So, have a good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it is for you. Have a good one. See you next time.
Hello again, everyone. Victoria here. Don't forget about those like and subscribe buttons. Your support is always appreciated. Thanks again for your time, and we look forward to seeing you again in the future.